Let me repeat, a manufacturing company manufacture plastic coated steel fencing in two qualities, standard and heavy gauge. Both products passes through the same process. Involving steel forming and a plastic bonding. Steel forming and a plastic bonding. Standard gauge fencing sets at 18 shillings a roll. Standard gauge fencing sets at 18 shillings a roll. And heavy gauge fencing at 24 shillings a roll. Variable cost per roll are 16 shillings and 21 shillings respectively. Variable cost per roll are 16 shillings and 21 shillings respectively. There is an unlimited market for the standard gauge. There is an unlimited market for the standard gauge. But demand for the heavy gauge is limited to 1,300 rolls a year. Factory operations are limited to 2,400 hours per annum. Factory operations are limited to 2,400 hours per annum in each of the two production processes. I want you to open for me 3 columns. The first column, call it gauge. The second column, call it processing hours. Steel processing hours, and the plastic bonding processing hours per hour. The first column, you call it gauge. The second column, call it steel forming process hours. And the third column, call it plastic bonding processing hours per roll. Under gauge column, andika standard. Under steel forming, andika 0.6. Under plastic forming, andika 0.4. Heavy, under steel forming, andika 0.8. Now, under plastic bonding, andika 1.2. Let me repeat. Create 3 columns. The first column is gauge. The second column is steel forming processing hours per hour. Now the third column, plastic bonding processing hours per hour. For standard, the 0.6 for steel forming. For plastic, the 0.4 for bonding. Heavy, the 0.6 steel forming. Now plastic bonding, the 1.2. Required. What is the production mix which will maximize total contribution, and what could be the total contribution? What is the production mix which will maximize total contribution, and what will be the total contribution? I mean, have you got that question? Amina?
Yes, sir.
Can you read what you have written down?
Okay, give me a minute. Nimalize kuandika.
George, Amina ni kama hajamaliza.
Yes, I'll read. But where mwalimu I missed, you will tell me a question.
Okay. Can I read again the question?
Yes, that is it for the last time.
Now, we want to identify the variables. Let S be the number of standard gauge rolls to be produced, and let H be the number of F gauge rolls to be produced. S stands for the standard, H stands for AV. S in capital letters, AV in capital letters, caps. That's step number 1. Let S be the number of standard gauge rolls to be produced. Let H be the number of standard AV rolls to be produced. Step number 2. Identify the objective. The objective is to maximize contribution. So that means then we are going to maximize our contribution. And how do we get contribution? You can write contribution is equal to sales less variable cost. Then, in the same stage there, then standard is contribution is what? AV is standard is contribution is what? Sitaki kuwapeleka mbio. Have you got it? How the step number 2? George?
Yes, I'm understanding.
And I'm saying we have identified the objective is to maximize contribution. Then
Yes.
below nimeandika contribution is equal to what? Contribution is equal to sales less variable cost. So I want to get the contribution for standard, and I get contribution for AV. Give me the selling price per roll for standard, and the variable cost per roll for standard. Then look at the sales per roll for AV and the variable cost per roll for AV. I can be able to get my contribution for each of those 2 types of meat I want to produce. Aaron, what is the contribution for the standard? Brenda, are we together? Brenda Mujiri.
Yes.
Have you got
Yes.
what is the contribution for standard?
2,
And for H?
3.
Thank you. George, have you seen it?
Mwalimu, contribution for
Standard.
standard.
Sales for standard. Brenda, can you explain to George how you have got 2 and 3? Brenda?
We are for standard. We have subtracted the cost for selling, that is 18, subtract by the variable cost for standard, which is 16. We get 2.
Yes, I've got it, sir.
George?
Yes, sir, I've gotten it.
Have you got for heavy then?
Yes, for heavy is 24 minus 21, which is 3.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Now, if I want to form the objective, the total contribution, now I want you to look at it, Brenda, there. To produce 1 unit of standard, I get a contribution of 2. To produce 1 unit of heavy, I get a contribution of 2. 3. Then what could be my total contribution if I was producing S units of standard and H units of heavy? Brenda, have you got my question there?
Yes.
So what could be a contribution, total contribution for standard?
2S.
Now what is the contribution for H?
3H.
So our total contribution could be 2S plus 3H, right?
Yes.
Thank you. George, have you seen that?
Yes, I've seen it, sir.
You have written 2S plus 3H is our total contribution.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Now, I want us now to form the equation using the limiting factor. Now, we have got 2 limiting factors there. The first limiting factor is machine hours. The second limiting factor is the H cannot go beyond 1,300 rows. So I've identified my constraints. I've got 2 constraints. One, H cannot be produced more than 1,300, and all total hours for producing standard and heavy cannot go beyond 2,400 hours. We don't have enough hours which can go more than 2,400 hours. Now, but to produce 1 unit of standard, it takes 0.6 hours in steel forming and 0.4 hours in plastic bonding. Remember, this particular kind of gauge is supposed to pass 2 processes: steel forming and a plastic bonding. For standard gauge, it takes 0.6 hours in steel forming, and it takes 0.4 hours in plastic bonding. For everyone, it takes 0.8 hours for steel forming and 1.2 hours for plastic bonding. Now, what will be then, I now combust them to have a kind of equation using my objective and using my constraint which I have. Now, for steel forming hours, if 1 unit takes 0.6 in steel forming, so the total hours I want so that I can be able to produce S rows of standard, it will be 0.6S plus 0.8H. Would it be less than or equal 2,400? That is for steel forming hours. 0.6X plus 0.8H must be less than or equals to 2,400 hours steel forming. For plastic bonding, it should be 0.4S plus 1.2H must be less than or equals to 2,400 plastic bonding hours. Brent, have you got it?
Yes.
Can you explain to us to hear what you have got it right? Brenda?
You have said
Yeah.
the number of hours is limited to 2,400. For the steel processing hours, we have 0.6S plus 0.8H, which is equals to 2,400 hours. And for the plastic bonding process, it's 0.4S plus 1.2H, which is also equals to 2,400 hours.
it should be less than or equals to, Brenda, right?
Okay.
You know the sign of less than or equals to.
Yes, plus or minus.
It could be less than or equals to. You know the sign of writing less than or equals to in maths.
Yes.
Have you written it?
Yes.
Okay. Now there is another constraint. H must be less than or equals to 1,300. Says demand. Ndio tuliziambiwa hivyo. H must be less than or equals to 1,300. Have you got it right, Brenda?
Yes.
There is something I want to show you because maybe now I don't see you face to face. There can be a problem. There is something, Brenda, I want to share, or just so you can see what I'm talking about. Do you see what I've written there, Brenda?
Yes.
Is that what you have written?
Yes.
Betty Odiambo. Aaron, have you seen it? Aaron,
Yes.
you see what? Have you written like that? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. George,
Yes, I've seen it.
umekuwa umeandika
Let's-
hivyo?
I had not written H is less than 1,000.
Yes, I've written like that.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be now. This is the most difficult part. If you formulate that nicely, there is now nothing which can prevent you not to clear all those marks. Now, you have got it what is supposed to be in that case. So what I want us now to do is to formulate that one, and I want to solve them one by one until I answer all those questions which we have. Then the other equation you write below there, S must be greater than 0, H must be greater than 0. Because we said we cannot produce Beto Diamba, have you written now? You have said you have not written. And I've added another equation there that S must be greater than 0, H must be greater than 0. Fine. Now, I want you now, below there niandike Roman 1, andike 0.6x plus 0.8h is less than or equals 2,400. Nisikuache nyuma, niandike hapo chini Roman 1. Under those inequalities you question you may formulate. 0.6x plus 0.8h must be less than or equal to 24. Niandike hapo chini, if S is equal to 0, H would be equal to what? The 2,400 divided by 0.8. You get me the answer. If, still is in question number 1, If H is equal to 0, S will be equal to what? S will be equal to 2400 divided by 0.6. Brenda, have you got me?
Yes.
Can you say what I've said?
You have said, we say if S is equals to 0, what is going to be H? So H is going to be 2400 divided by 0.8.
You get what?
3000.
Then next one.
If H is equals to 0, what about S? S is going to be 2400 divided by 0.6, which is 4000.
Correct. Those are roles. Those are roles. Nikuje na Roman 2. Niandike hiyo question ya Roman 2. 0.4s plus 1.2h is less than or equals to 2400. Can you do the same way I've done the other one so that I can see whether you have got it right? Amina. Amina, are we together with you?
Yeah, we are.
Have you done Roman 2? Hiyo 0.4s plus 1.2s.
Yeah. Yeah, niko hapo.
Marisa, basi ukipata tuambie.
So if S equals to 0,
Yeah.
H equals to 2400 divided by 1.2,
Yes.
itakuwa 2000. Then if H equals to 0, S equals to 2400 divided by 0.4, equals to 2400 divided by 0.4, 6000.
6,000.
Yeah.
Now, that's basically what you have now done in that aspect then. Now, all this is what you have now indicated, and you have found the variables which are going to be there in that order. Now, I don't know whether muleta graph, mulikuja na graph paper. Brenda,
Yes.
I asked you last week, mulikuja na graph paper.
Yes.
Muko nazo hapo?
Yes.
Fine. Brenda, you're going to show me your graph paper. Uko nayo? Okay. Video diambo ana graph. Now, hakuna shida. I want you to draw a graph in your exercise book there so that I can see whether we have got those things right in that case. Now, but before we can draw the graph, I can do these things mathematically so that I can get the point right. And I'm going to use the first two equations. I want to do it mathematically, and I will do it using a graph to see whether we are going to get the same answer. Niandikia hapo chini mathematical equation. Uniandikie 0.6s plus 0.8h will be equals to 2,400. 0.4s plus 1.2h will be equals to 2,004. This is equation number 1, and those are equation number 2. Now, Brenda, do you remember what we used to do about substitution method or elimination method in algebraic? Brenda,
Remind me, sir.
or repeat the maths? George,
Yes, I can remember substitution and elimination method.
fine. Now, nataka I eliminate one of them. Nataka kuona ni figure gani nitamultiply in equation 1, na then ni figure gani I can multiply equation 2 to make, to eliminate either H or S. I can do it like this. If I multiply equation 1 by 2, and I multiply each of those equations 2 by 3, I will eliminate S. 2 times 0.6S itakuwa 1.2S. 2 times 0.8H itakuwa 1.6H, will be equals to 4,800. 2 times 24. 3 times 0.4, 1.2S. 3 times 1.2 itakuwa 3.6H, then is equals to 7,200. Brenda, have you seen it?
Yes.
If I subtract downwards equation 1 na equation 2, or equation 2 from equation 1, see upper 1.2S minus 1.2S itakuwa 0. Brenda?
Yes.
1.6 minus 3.6 itakuwa ngapi? Negative 2H, right?
Yes.
48 minus 72. You get negative what?
24.
Negative?
2,400.
Now, I divide both sides by negative 1, 2. I divide both sides by negative 2 to get the value of H. So H will be how much now in this case? A negative divided by negative is a positive, right?
Yes.
So H will be equal to what?
1,200.
Thank you. If I have found the value of H, I can find the value of S. I can substitute it in equation 1. Equation 1 was 0.6S plus 0.8H is equal to 2,400. Now found the value of H. So it will be 0.6S plus 0.8 times 1,200 is equal to 2,400. Right, Brenda?
Yes.
So 0.6S plus 960, right?
Yes.
0.8 times 1,200. George,
Yes, sir.
have you seen what I'm doing?
I'm seeing what you are doing. I'm finding S.
Yes. So get me the value of H, George.
The value of H is 1,200.
Yeah?
H is 1,200.
No, S, George. Brenda,
Yes.
have you found the value of S?
Yes.
2,400.
Thank you. Ndio hiyo. So that means then H should be 1200, S could be 2400 rolls, H could be 1200 rolls. Brenda, what was our total contribution? 2H,
2S plus 3H.
2S plus,
3H.
now 2 times 24, because we are producing 24, 2400 rolls, right?
Yes.
So it will 2 times 2400 and 3 times 1200. So this 4800, this 3600, you will get is going to be 8,400. That's going to be our total contribution. Right?
Yes.
Have you found Juliana? Juliana, are you with us?
Yes, yes.
Have you found those questions? Those H and S?
Yes.
Brenda,
Yes.
is it hard?
Pardon.
Ni ngumu?
No.
Okay. Then I want you now to draw the graph. Open a new page, draw the graph, and a good graph will cover at least 50% of your page of exercise book. In y-axis, equate standard. In x-axis, equate H. And I want you to use, if you are using, sorry, if you are using exercise book, 2 lines make it a scale of, say, 1000, 1000, 1000 in both ends. A scale of 1000, 1000. For S, uende paka 6000, and for ingine uende paka 4000 each. Brenda, you see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Nichole hiyo graph y-axis and x-axis, uniachie, I will tell you how to get the coordinates. Hello? Brenda?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
You have said for the y-axis we go up to?
For y-axis, you go up to 6,000.
And for x?
Around 4,000, I'm 6,000, no problem. You can go in any way.
Okay. And the unit?
No, yeah?
The scale?
Sorry?
Are we creating our own scale?
No, use the one I've told you. You start with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, mpaka 6,000 up. The scale is 1,000, 1,000, 1,000.
Okay.
And the same way with the H.
Okay.
You just draw for me. I will tell you how to do the coordinates.
Point D.
Umesema point D. D is far away from the origin surely. If you want to travel from A, which one will you reach latest?
It's C. It's C.
Angalia vizuri bwana.
B.
Angalia vizuri. Brenda,
Yes.
waambie how you have seen this C. Now, let me tell you how you can see which point is far away from the origin. Angalia what I'm going to share with you. Look. What I'm going to show you. Work on your ruler like this. ISO. Start moving towards end. Which point would be touched latest? If you put your ruler like this, keep on moving like that. Which one could be touched latest?
Point C.
Correct. Have you agreed now, Betty? Bet. I mean, have you seen it now? It's point C.
Ndio nimeona.
Ebu, can you read for me, draw the line downwards from point C, nisome figures itakuwa ya H. Now, point C, you move her close, we touch point X axis, Y axis, unisome the figures which are there, approximately. Brenda?
Approximately.
Yes. For H, it would be how much?
4,000.
Sorry?
4,000.
That's the way umechoraje. It can't be 4,000. It can't be 3,000. Look at your scale. I mean, are you seeing it?
Yeah, nimepata 2,400 yangu.
Yeah, what? Yes.
Yeah, C.
Yes, on X axis. Y
Yeah,
axis.
kwa S. Yeah, kwa S.
Correct. See, to report the number of units you want to produce for S is 2,400. Using our mathematical equation. Amina?
Yes, sir.
Did you get the number of units you want to produce when we were calculating using mathematical calculations? We got 2,400 rods.
Yeah, nilipata 2,400.
Na ukiteremuka chini, kwa H itakuwa approximately how many units?
Chini ni 1,300.
200.
Yeah, 200. 1,200.
Yeah. Brenda,
Yes.
umeona?
Yes.
Sawa. So whether you use a graph or you use mathematical equation, you will still arrive at the same answer, right? George,
Yes.
umeona? Let me repeat. For maximization of profits, you take that point, the coordinates of the points which is far away from the origin. To minimize costs, you take that point of the coordinates which is closer to zero as possible.
James Joseph.
James Joseph.
Yeah.
Meseme company uses two main aggregates in preparing its butter. Integrate A contains 36 units of protein and 12 units of carbohydrates per pound, comma. Integrate B contains 12 units of protein and 24 units of carbohydrates per pound. Each carton of butter must contain at least 108 units of protein. Each carton of butter must contain at least 108 units of protein and 36 units of carbohydrates. The cost of integrate A is 0.18 per pound. The cost of integrate A is 0.18 shillings per pound, and the cost of integrate B is 0.3 shillings per pound. The firm has an objective of minimizing the cost. Required. Formulate the equations and find the number of integrate A, the integrate B, and the number of units to be produced to minimize the cost. Now form the equation now. Can you form the equations I see by yourself? Then I can be able to assist you.
Sir,
Now,
divide by 12.
Brenda, unaweza kuendelea from there. Thank you, yeah.
Yes.
George, umepata A is equal to what?
When B is equal to 0, A is equal to 8.
Yeah?
For the second equation,
Yeah.
that's 12A plus 24B greater than or equal to 96. When B is 0, A is equal to 8.
Yes.
And for the first one, 36A plus 12B greater than or 1 is greater than or equal to 108. When A is 0, B is 9.
Yes.
Then from there, I think we continue.
Have you got B is 9 and A is 3? Brenda,
Yes.
have you got A is 3 and B is 9?
Yes.
Now, then you go now back there. Our maximum contribution, maximum cost, which we didn't take, our objective is to minimize cost. So, and our cost will be 0.18A plus 0.30AB, right? Hiyo ndio cost minimization. So the cost was 0.18 na 0.3. Brenda?
Yes.
Our cost per unit for protein was 0.18. Na hiyo ingine ni
Yes.
0.3 for B, right?
Yes.
Have you got it right?
Yes.
Now A we have found is 3. Now B we have found is 9, right?
Yes.
Fix them now and tell me the figures which we have. Nafikiri mmechoka.
3.24.